From the brilliant detective who has never been defeated to the skinny outlaw with a $60 billion double-dollar bounty on his head, here are the 10 anime characters that look weak but are actually overpowered. Number 10. Mash Mashal, Magic and Muscles. It makes sense to name Saitama in this list since he's obviously broken, even though he looks like a goofball. But that's getting a little cliche, so here's someone new to replace him. Mash is the ultimate gym bro, but somehow he still looks like a familiar nerd from Hogwarts. Maybe because he's got a sleeper build? He trains his muscles day and night. Why do you ask? Because he was born magicless in a world where that's incomprehensible. The cherry on top is that Mash is unbelievably dense and somehow he manages to enroll in magic school. In magic school, Mash pretends he has magic and passes his subjects in the most unorthodox of ways. If he needs to fly, he just starts moving his legs rapidly. If he needs to win a race, he simply runs so fast the human eye can't see him, and people think it's truly magic. Mash is also a badass at times, especially when someone destroys his cream puffs or bullies his classmates. Whichever moron ends up making any of these mistakes, Mash delivers onto them a whooping of a lifetime. Power or no powers, our boy Mash is a little too strong at times. There's no one who possibly matches up to him in physical strength and martial magic and muscles. But if we're talking anime in general, there's one ginger who I'll put all my chips on. Number 9. Escanor, 7 Deadly Sins. When we first see Escanor, he looks like a twig. Malnourished would be an understatement to describe this man, but what sounded insane was that other characters referred to him as the strongest member of the 7 Deadly Sins, even though he got whacked out by just a simple pat on the shoulder from Galend. At first, it didn't make sense, but when sunrise came, everything became clear as day. Escanor's strength comes from the sun, and the stronger it shines, the beefier Escanor gets. He becomes an 11-foot, 800-pound overpowered Giga Chad during the day, while at night he's a beta. In his true form, Escanor is so strong that he's able to cut Galend into two with zero effort, and then freezes him to death in fear of his ultimate attack. And when the strongest demon from the 10 Commandments, Estarossa, came face to face with Escanor, he too got burned badly. Escanor is truly one of the strongest anime characters ever, and witnessing the Lion Sin of Pride in action is surely going to blow you away. Number 8. Shin, Wise Man's Grandchild. You've probably heard this a million times already, so here's a clip showing how the story starts. Okay, so when Shin is growing up, his adoptive father, Merlin, teaches him great wizardry and seclusion from society. Shin becomes surprisingly strong, but his appearance would fool anyone since he's so skinny, thus the weak-looking anime character with overpowered abilities label. It's soon decided Shin will join Earl's Shield Magic Academy, and as expected, everyone from the punks at the city gates to his new classmates thinks he's weak. And time again, he continues to blow their minds with his sick skills. Number 7. Vash, Trigun. Vash, the Stampede, is an outlaw who has a $60 billion double-dollar bounty on his head. Sheesh, most people fear Vash's name. However, when they actually meet the humanoid typhoon, they are left bamboozled by how nonchalant and harmless he looks. Vash is a goof, but the bounty on his head makes you wonder what it is about this man that's so dangerous. Well, in the latter episodes, Vash finally shows his true colors. It turns out that underneath the cringe, Vash is an expert marksman and highly skilled in combat, and despite the rumors suggesting otherwise, he's a hero out to protect love and peace. Vash's strength and his reasons for using it are wholesome, but they are quite different from what drives our next scrawny, overpowered anime protagonist, Bonitas. Number 6. Bonitas. Bonitas no Karte. Unlike Vash, Bonitas is driven by revenge. His goal is to heal all vampires in the world in order to exact revenge on the Vampire of the Blue Moon, aka his master. The plot sounds totally contradictory to a revenge story when you say it out loud, but anyways, moving on. Nobody gives two flying cents about what Bonitas has to say about vampires because of how weak he looks. Like, sometimes people even have trouble noticing he's there, so I can see why nobody takes him seriously. Anyhow, Bonitas gets fuming real quick, and when a vampire or human runs around causing mayhem, Bonitas whips out his magic book of Bonitas and gets things under control ASAP, often by overpowering stronger, more sinister forces at the opposing end. Bonitas' vendetta against his master is another intriguing part of the show, as well as the animation and characters. Number 5. Ronpo, Bungo Stray Dogs. Coming up next on this list is Ronpo, the brilliant detective from Japan's Armed Detective Agency. Ronpo's physique is self-explanatory if you keep the title in mind. He's probably the accurate mascot for this video. He looks unimaginably weak, but is pretty OP. Instead of having any superpowers, Ronpo's strength lies in his extraordinary big brain power. Because of his intelligence, Ronpo is able to solve crimes at a glance, deduce the identity of the shadowy masterminds, and create schemes within seconds. With him around, there's simply no such thing as the perfect crime. Ronpo's detective skills are beyond unbelievable, and he can virtually beat enemies without lifting a finger. Seeing Ronpo put that big head of his to work is a treat. Though, granted, no explosions are happening when Ronpo gets screen time. Number 4. Sato, Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. Sato jumps up to level 310 when he mistakenly kills a horde of enemies after getting trapped in a game world. With his abilities maxed out, Sato basically unlocks God mode on day 1. What else could he do but set out on an adventure? But his scrawny appearance and sparkling eyes made him seem like all talk and no bite to the NPCs. That is, until he starts pulverizing monsters in front of them. At one point, Sato's party gets kidnapped and it only takes him seconds to save everyone with his overpowered abilities. Sato is always one-shotting characters with his powers, and he's downright broken by the time he gets a hang of them. However, if Sato's skills don't impress you, maybe Minoru's will. Number 3. Minoru, the Eminence in Shadow. Minoru Kagano is a perfect normal high schooler, or is he? One day, Minoru gets hit by a truck and voila, he's reincarnated in a fantasy world with magic-ass Sid Kagano. But he kind of looks like the same weak, boring old version from his past life. Or maybe he's pretending to be like that on purpose. Now, this is where things get good. Sid isn't as innocent as people think he is. In his past life, he was only blending in his high school during the day, and at night he used to lurk around the city brutally beating up thugs as a vigilante, until, well, he died at the hands of Truck-kun. As Sid, Minoru pulls the same trick. He only pretends to be weak while secretly he dons the persona of Shadow and leads a secret organization called Shadow Garden against the evil cult of Diablos, which you'll be surprised to find out was something he just made up, but it turned out to be a real cult. Number 2. Gabi Maru, Hell's Paradise.
未練などないはずだろ。
Like Minoru, Gabi Maru also happens to be a badass in disguise. Gabi Maru the Hollow is an elite, super-powered ninja assassin whose body seems frail, but is actually invincible. No matter which method of execution they try on him, Gabi Maru doesn't die. And on top of that, he's highly trained, so when he gets serious, bodies start piling up in mere moments. It makes sense he looks so weak, but is actually overpowered. Deception is a ninja's best trait after all. One time, he was put in a battle royale to the death, and despite having his hands tied, Gabi Maru ripped everyone who came at him to shreds. And if that isn't overpowered, I don't know what is. The anime Hell's Paradise has countless moments where Gabi Maru shocks everyone with his powers, and you'll have a hell of a time watching it if overpowered anime characters in a fantasy setting are your jam. There couldn't possibly be a bigger shock than Gabi Maru, right? Well, not exactly. We've got one more weak-looking anime character that will blow you away. Number 1. Akira, Demon Lord Retry.
いつだって君の指導を告げる音色なのだから。
Akira gets summoned as the Demon Lord in his own game Infinity. Upon arrival, Akira is greeted by another Demon Lord, but Akira isn't phased an inch because he's got all the overpowered and world-ending skills he had in-game. Akira blasts the grumpy gorilla into orbit with no effort and brushes it off as if he were stepping on an ant. This is probably also a good time to mention the kawaii anime girl involved. Together, the duo piggybacks across villages, sometimes burning them to the ground, and sometimes running into weirdos that make them want to get the hell out. With dozens of mass destruction weapons at his disposal, this Demon Lord gets into endless battles, makes a harem of his own, spanks them, and shows everyone why he's going to rule them all.